Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Louisville. I didn't realize that the breakout session was going to overlap with the opening session, The Economist, but somebody told me a while ago that that I should have a leg up on The Economist, because economists only become economists because they don't have the personality to become a CPA. So you're listening to the CPA guys. Anyway, first of all, why am I here? Why am I talking to you? First, I head up our dealership industry group. We've got 41 people on our dealership industry group, hundreds of dealer clients. We work closely with a lot of the regional associations. Ralph's here from Northeast equipment dealers, but we work with EDA and UEDA and a lot of the associations. I've personally worked with dealers exclusively since 1987, and some of you looking at the audience haven't been working in the business since 1987. So, and as far as my background, I'm probably the strangest CPA that many of you are going to meet. I'm probably the only CPA that you're going to meet that's run a service department, that's GM'd a dealership, that's actually owned a dealership. So a little different perspective than the typical bean counter. We're going to talk today about expense control. We do a lot of transaction work as well, and this is one of the edges that we see in a lot of the transactions where maybe there's some waste in some items that we can make better. So there's opportunities there, and it's not necessarily easy if you're looking at your existing store and trying to improve things there. It takes a little bit of effort, but it's well worth it. And as Coach Lou Holtz said once upon a time, that no one ever drowned in sweat. So nobody's afraid of a little bit of work here. Sorry, that's me. And copies of the presentation. I don't know through the GIE+EXPO. I'm not sure how they're available, but if you guys want to write down my contact info, it's at the first slide. Let me back up. It's there. rcollins@hbkcpa.com. I'm happy to send it to you. So there it is. So where are we headed? We're headed to make a difference. Worked with a dealer group in New York, larger group. They had 16 consecutive months of losses. First 4 months of the current year, prior year was all red, and the year before that was red, although I didn't look at the months. And we got called in to help them turn it around, and they had lost $750,000 through May, big losses. By the time we got done in November, we turned it around. We'd made 600 grand. Yeah, that's a swing of 1.3. We recouped all the losses and made 600 grand year to date. So that's not just expenses. You have to spend money to make money. I understand that, but some of it was expenses. A lot of it was efficiencies and increasing gross profits. We also worked with another dealer on their break even, and we reduced their break even by about 52% by focusing on, again, increasing gross profits, but focusing on unnecessary expenditures, eliminating or diminishing those. One of the things that I like to point out, especially to the non-financial managers in the dealerships, is I try to make the impact of, look, $100 that you spend that's wasted, what's it take in gross profit to recapture that, to recover that, okay? Gross profit or sales. This happens to be based on gross profit. So if I've got a dealership that's at a 10% gross profit level, and I waste $100, okay, so I spend $100 that has no return on it, I got to make $1,000 gross profit just to recover that, okay? So that oftentimes will impact the financial managers a little bit. I'm sorry, the departmental managers, the non-financial managers a little bit. One of the things that we talk about, and I'm cramming about 10 pounds of crap into a 5-pound bucket here, guys. We got 30 minutes, so I'm going to put a lot of stuff here. It's a lot of thought starters for you. Give me a buzz. I don't charge for phone calls, so give me a buzz or contact me through your association or whatever. Floor plan, your interest carrying costs. What I did was I did studies. There are 3 lines bunched together, and then there's one line that's higher than that. Which line do you guys think is the existing lender? Okay. He's gotten comfortable in his situation. He's got higher rates than when we went out and shopped. We've got some other slides here with with some of the specifics. I won't get into all of this, but it's got a lot of details on it. As you're looking and comparing, don't forget about your covenants, your loan covenants down there. That's important as well. But what we did was we looked and, okay, the lender 2, by the way, lender 2 happens to be our incumbent, our existing lender. Well, we've got this, we got some competitiveness going on. Look what happened after lender 2. We did not share the quotes with lender 2. Lender 2 found out we were shopping. And look what he did. He dropped his rates. On the new floor, he dropped it by 1/4 point. On the used floor, he dropped it by 1/2 point. And all he did was find out that we were shopping rates. Here's our estimated savings when we did this. Our new floor plan, we saved about 18 grand, used about 5 grand. Our capital loans, we actually are spending more in interest. The interest rates actually went up, okay? But here's the thing about this specific dealer that you don't know. This is what I would consider a C credit. They aren't a prime credit. They're a little rough. They're undercapitalized, as a matter of fact. So it's going to be tough for a bank to say, hey, I got real confidence in lending you money. What was the problem was our cash flow. We were undercapitalized. What we did in this was we added $369,000 to their annual cash flow. It's cash that they could keep in the business, strengthening their balance sheet. And that was as big a difference maker as anything. So was the balance sheet side of things as well. One thing that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on is energy audits, energy cost. I'm from Indianapolis, so Duke Energy supplies our energy. They'll do an energy audit for you at your store. Set some goals, try to create an action plan for yourselves. There's some things that you can do. Timers on your light switches and so forth, okay? Those will cut your energy consumption. Lights go out. If you aren't in your conference room after 30 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, there's no motion, it'll shut down. That saves some money. There are some other things. We've also had dealers who have replaced all of their lighting with more energy efficient LED lighting. First of all, it's a great for your display. And we've had dealers who have received grants, $35,000, $40,000, local grants, grants from the utilities and so forth. So they've spent nothing and got energy savings for themselves going on and on. Don't forget there's some tax advantages as well, some tax deductions that you get, up to $1.80 per square foot if you do the envelope of the building, and it's kind of divided in thirds. So there are things that you can do there. And as you're replacing products, whether it's HVAC systems or just the refrigerator in the break room, think about going a little more energy efficient with those things. Property and casualty insurance. We could spend all day talking about your P&C insurance. Dealers P&C insurance is the most complicated of any insurance that's out there. More complicated than the hospital systems insurance and so forth. So what you've got to do is you've got to be aggressive and assertive. From our perspective, we actually fill the gap for a lot of our dealers, and we'll act as their CFO on this project on a project basis, and we're quoting insurance for our dealers. We know who's aggressive in the market. We know who's conservative in the market, and we know specifically what coverages you need to have. What we see too often is a friend of the dealer, the fraternity brother of the dealer, the brother-in-law of the dealer is providing the insurance, and they're putting a general liability, general business commercial liability policy in place. And what we see are big holes in those policies where there's lack of coverage for risks that are specific to your business that a commercial policy doesn't cover. So you need to know about those risks. So a lot of times this may be, when we come in and do this, it may be eliminating some risks, letting you sleep better at night. Right now you're sleeping fine because you don't know you've got exposure, but letting you understand what you've got there in the form of coverage. We've talked about floor plan interest, we've talked about property and casualty. Workers' comp insurance, take a look at the audit. Most of the time your audits, they do audits once a year of what you've paid. Take a look at the worker classification. We see errors in the worker classifications there. There's some administrative people that are unfortunately put into the shop sometimes because the auditor doesn't know actually what they're doing. So make sure that they're classified as clerical, a much lower rate for you on that. And then reconcile the payroll that's used. We're seeing some errors in that as well. So just be assertive and check the checker, if you will, check the auditor. Pay plans. We're going to spend just a couple of minutes here. This could be an hour or two program just talking about pay plans in the dealership. But one of the things that I like to encourage my clients to do is what I call a carrot and stick type of pay plan. The carrot being a reward. So let's set a minimum standard out there, whether that's standard for customer satisfaction or for unit sales, or whether it's gross profit or whatever it is. You've got your standard out there. And I will pay, I'm going to make up a number, $100 bonus if you exceed my standard. But if you don't, I'm taking $100 out of your monthly commission or your monthly bonus. So it's a $200 swing, okay? This is a good program, a good way to do this, because your people figure out, oh, wait a minute, I'm not just losing $100. It's costing me $200 because I'm having to pay the dealership back $100 because I didn't meet the minimum acceptable level, okay? It also is a good thing from the dealership perspective. Basically, you're offering a $100 bonus, so it's only $100 more than what your pay plan right now provides. But if they don't hit that standard, you're getting them to pay you $100. Okay. In my simple example, it can be $1,000. Do whatever you need to motivate the actions that you want. I am a big believer in the hip pocket is the biggest motivator. Okay. I know we want to love our employees and we want to do all those nice feely type of things, but the hip pocket will motivate your employees. So pay for what you expect. And pay for the results that you want. The other thing is, a lot of dealers are still paying based upon gross. So department managers are paid on departmental gross profit. Okay, I like to move people to net profit. Departmental net, pay them on departmental net. I want them pulling on the same, my manager's pulling on the same end of the rope that I'm pulling on. I want them to help me find wasted expenses. Right now, if they're just paid on gross, it doesn't matter. They don't care what you spend money on advertising. If you spend $10,000 on a direct mail campaign and all I get is $5,000 of gross profit, I think I moved, I'm sorry. Then all I get is $5,000 of gross profit, that's good for the manager. It's terrible for the store. So let's pay them on net, not gross. At least controllable expenses they should be hit with. All right. And advertising. Don't pay for what you don't get here either. Many of you have probably heard about the Nielsen ratings. And those are what I'm talking about when I say targeted rating points. The Nielsen ratings for the shows, the best rated shows, you pay more if you place an ad, and I'm talking about traditional advertising. Team SI is doing a breakout session, I think it's tomorrow, on internet-based and your web presence and so forth. I'm really talking about strictly the traditional advertising. But getting back to it, those Nielsen ratings are rating points. You pay more for a 30 or 60 second spot in a highly rated program than you do in a lower rated program. Well, at the end of the month, you need to do an audit, which is my third bullet point there. You need to say, okay, I bought a Cadillac, I bought the high rated program, but you delivered me a Yugo. You owe me a refund. I paid for 200 TRPs. I got 180 TRPs. You owe me a check for the 20% difference. Okay? You're never going to get a check. Will not happen. But what will you get? You'll get advertising next month for free. You'll get makeup advertising. Okay? So that's saving money for me as well. All right? The 15% commission, just real quick on that. 15% commission. All of the ads are baked in with a 15% commission to an ad agency. If you're buying the advertising yourself directly, you need to make sure that you get it on a net basis so that 15% isn't charged to you. Oops, too many buttons. Retirement plans. I basically built a grid here. The first column is an insurance company or traditional bank plan. The next column with the numbers in it is utilizing a third-party administrator with a mutual fund family. And I've got analyzed here for you what some of the differences are. The proof's in the pudding, and here's the moral of the story. With a plan with $1 million in assets, the costs are about half. If you go with directly with a third-party administrator and mutual fund family, rather than through a bank or an insurance company typically. So you're paying that. The dealership's either paying those costs as an expense, or the plan's paying it, and every employee is getting a lower return because the plan is paying that administrative cost, and it's an unnecessary expense. All right, non-returnable parts. Non-returnable parts. I've got a couple of clients actually that are buying old non-returnable parts. Okay, most of my dealers. Okay, I go into a dealership today. I can probably go into any one of your dealerships, unfortunately, and I can find a portion of your inventory with an inch of dust on it. Right, the parts inventory. It's not good. It's not pretty. Okay, some of you are laughing. It's a painful laugh, but it's true. Okay, those are non-returnable parts. Those parts are eating up space. You're getting no return on those, no profit on those. They're just sitting there and they're declining in value. I've got a couple of clients that actually they are buying those parts. You're not getting a lot of money for them, but you're getting something. And then they're dealing with cataloging them, listing them on the internet, maintaining all of that. You can certainly try to do it yourself. I've talked to dealers that have started to do that themselves. They've backed off on it because it just takes too much human capital to do that. So offload that. Get some cash. Get those parts out of your problem, and get some cash right then. Computer costs. Couple of things. First of all, your computer vendors are free, like the insurance providers are. They can price their insurance product any price they want to you. Same thing for your computer costs. There's a lot of flexibility in your computer systems, your DMS systems. So what we've done is we've actually compared bills from one customer to another, same system, and we've seen significant differences there. So shop that as well. Nobody wants to change. I'm not suggesting that you make a change unless you get a significant difference in your DMS costs. The cost to change is pretty significant. You've got to retrain your people. You've got a lot of things. So I'm not entering into that lightly, but let's hold our people accountable and let's shop it. Hold our people, our vendors, accountable, and let's look at that. And then office and other supplies. These are kind of funny. This was a recent dealership. We found about $100,000 in office supply expense that was wasted. It was a group. So the first example is, notepads, right? You're making notes. Okay, I got a notepad here, right? And this one happens to just be glued across the top. So I can take a piece of paper off, no big deal. Others, they've got this cardboard at the back and a cardboard strip across the front. It costs 10 to 20% extra for that cardboard that you're going to throw away. So let's buy cheaper, okay? I'm not going to go through these other slides. They're on there. When you get the handouts, you'll see those. The only one I'm going to talk about is the blow dryers, the hand dryers in the bathrooms. Okay, we've all been in there. They now have these new ones that are turbo jets. It sounds like, right? Just come on. It blows everything out of the restroom. Had a controller. He said, "This is a great idea. I'm going to do this." He put in those turbo jet blow dryers in the men's room, right? He forgot that the men's room was right on the other side of his office, so every time anybody went to the men's room, he got a notification that they had washed their hands or they hadn't. So just be careful where they're placed, I guess. One thing that we do as well is we encourage our dealers to, an easy way to shop your vendors is, we've got a vendor letter here. Again, you can't read it, it's too small print. But what we do is we basically say, hey guys, it's a tough time for the business right now. Mr. Vendor, and we share this with all of our vendors, we're asking you for a 10% reduction on your pricing. If we don't get the 10%, we're going to shop our vendors, but this is a way for you not to do that. For the price of a stamp, you'll be surprised at how many vendors are going to come to you and say, okay, we can do it. That's found money right there. Number two, well, we can't do 10%, but I can do 5%. Okay. Then you're going to have some that are going to say, you know what, we can't do anything. Then shop it. I am not telling you that price is the decision maker. Okay, this is the CPA, the bean counter, standing up here saying price alone is not the decision maker. You still have to get a quality product because you have to deliver quality parts, you have to deliver quality to your clients, your customers. So sometimes you end up with waste because you go with a cheaper product and so forth. So still use your decision process, but this is a way to find some cuts, all for the price of postage stamp. Credit card fees. Your controllers, your office managers are getting letters multiple times during the year from processors, credit card processors that say, hey, we can do this cheaper. Take them up on it. Get a quote and then provide that quote, or you don't have to provide the quote. You can, you don't have to. Call your current supplier, and oftentimes just a call before you even shop it will get you a reduction in the processing fees. Another thing that I do know, some of the associations, Ralph, I don't happen to know whether Northeast does, but some of them, UEDA, have relationships with some of the providers, the processors, and you can get a good deal that's already been negotiated for all the members by going through your association. Okay, all right. Trying to stay on track. I've got 7 minutes, and I've got more than 7 minutes of material, so we'll see how well we do. A payables party. This is pretty simple. Again, I want to get all my managers pulling on the same end of the rope with me. So let's have a payables party. Basically, the office manager brings in all the payables checks on the 10th of the month or whenever they're ready. We all the managers sit around, the last guy in line. So the check with the bill goes around the room. The last guy to get it's the dealer, and he'll sign the check after it's gone around. What I want all the managers to look at what the expenses are by vendor so that they have some concept of what we're spending. And you never know where the parts manager might be able to say, you know what, I know we got this uniform vendor, and that's primarily a service manager, service department issue, but we used UniFirst, not an endorsement for UniFirst, we used UniFirst as opposed to Centos, and it seemed they did a good job and they were cheaper at my last job. So maybe we get ideas along those lines. Approved vendor list. This kind of goes hand in hand with that. Once we've got an approved vendor list, my clients who have an approved vendor list, who abide by the approved vendor list, and do not willy-nilly add new vendors, their cost structure is lower than those that don't use an approved vendor list. Basically, you do the work, you negotiate your rates, you have to check. I don't know how many times this has come up where the bills after 3 or 4 months after we've negotiated a price reduction or we've agreed on rates, 3 months later, things change and there's a clerical error is what the explanation is. It's funny how the clerical error is always going one direction and not the other. So, but anyway. And then another way to get your people pulling on the same end of the rope with you is provide rewards to your employees. Basically, an easy way to do it is, hey, if you come up with an expense-saving idea, I'll give you 1 month's worth of the savings that we realize as an employee. It's a good incentive for the employees to in their pay. Eliminate overtime. Kind of goes without saying. Overtime, you're paying time and a half. If you can eliminate it, do that. One concept that I've put out there is charging the manager. If we've properly staffed, that's a big if sometimes, but if we're properly staffed, then I should be staffed where I don't need overtime unless we've intentionally done it spring or fall or whatever, okay? So you have to look at your own store. But what we've done is we've charged, because the thought being the reason behind charging back the manager is if we've properly staffed the department, then we've got a people problem or a process problem, and my manager is supposed to manage my people and my processes. So he's not doing his job, so I'll hit his monthly pay for what I'm paying on overtime to get him to pull on the same end of the rope. You want to know how quickly that gets fixed? Darn quickly, okay? That's what you want, okay? And once it's fixed, you can give him a bonus to give him his money back. Hey, you did a good job, Bob, taking care of that problem. Here you go. So I'm not being stingy. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it to get the results we want. I'm not doing it to short a guy's pay, if that makes sense. Okay. Another thing we've done in the office is we've shortened the hourly work week. We've had Betty take Mondays off, so she's only working 4 days a week instead of 5. So Betty's working Mondays, Betty's off, Sally's off on Tuesday. You still have coverage, but you run a little thinner. Equipment buyout, lease buyouts. Your parts washer, your copier in the office. If you don't negotiate those buyouts up front, I'm fine for right now. I'm fine for right now. If you don't negotiate those up front, you will pay through the nose at the end of that lease. You're either going to have to renegotiate a new lease, so you got 5 more years of paying on this thing, or you're going to have a huge payoff. What we do is up front, negotiate your buyout, and they're a lot more willing to do it up front because they want that sale. They're less like your salespeople. I want the sale, I want the sale. That's a 5-year down the road problem, that buyout. I'm not worried about it today. Okay. I already mentioned the DMS. I apologize for having that in there. Your trash charges, your dumpster charges, you can actually negotiate. There are multiple vendors out there in many areas, not every area. And then policy expense. Policy expenses make good work. It's when the customer's equipment wasn't fixed right and he's got to come back. Why am I paying a technician twice to do the job? I'll charge him back. If I've got to pull it to another technician, I'll pay the second technician, I'll charge back the first technician. Works real easy in a flat rate shop. Clocked hours, you still have to look. If you're paying on the clock, you've got to abide by all regulations and statutes. So, okay. If you're, I've got the uniform contracts in the middle section. There's a lot of things. Don't ever sign an evergreen contract. An evergreen contract is one that automatically renews. If you're forced to sign an evergreen contract, the day you sign it, hand them a letter that says, this is my notification that I'm discontinuing a year from now, okay, or whatever. I like 12-month contracts. I don't like longer than that. You have to perform every day in order to keep your customers happy, right? Why shouldn't they have to perform every day, okay? So I understand if they're providing new shirts, pants, and so forth, that they've got to have a time to get that back, but a year's plenty of time, okay? So track the changes. One of the things that's an add-on onto a uniform contract are the mats, the floor mats, the entryway mats, the door mats. There is huge gross profit for the uniform company in cleaning your doormats. What I've suggested to dealers is go to Tractor Supply or some of those other type of vendors. They sell what I call disposable floor mats. Okay, I'm talking about the doorway entryway, not for your cars. They sell these, and they're just disposable, and they're cheap enough that they're disposable. I don't think they're supposed to be, but they'll capture the mud and the snow and the slush and everything, and you're fine, and you eliminate a huge charge on your monthly bill. Then the last item is your data, your telephone contract and your data. A lot of clients of mine have gone to the voice over internet protocol, so they're using internet for this, which is good. It's cheaper. Your data, we can shop that as well. Make sure that you're getting your internet connections and so forth as inexpensively as possible. A caution, and this has come up. We had Harvey through Texas. We had Irma come up through Florida. Have a backup system. We had stores that the power was up, that their internet was down for days and days and days. You can't operate if your phones aren't ringing because it's tied to your internet. So our suggestion is have a backup, do a traditional landline, and for data, go ahead and pay on a monthly basis for the old dial-up type of connectivity. At least you'll be up and be able to do business. It may be slow. So Mickey Mouse says it's 2:31, so I will stop. If anybody needs me, my information is, I'll put it back on here. So, my contact information is there.